morning and welcome. Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason on this Monday. I hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. I know it's just, Monday's always just one of those days where it's tough to get it going, and then the clock's changed. Doesn't mean anything here in Arizona. I would love it if everyone can let's just all agree at what time it is. So that way, we can stop doing this. I guess there was a point in time where it made sense. I don't know that it does, but for a lot of people, you had to get up extra early today. For me, I actually did because of the radio. I'm up even earlier now, heading over, getting ready. So the show now here in Colorado, it's 8 o'clock here in the Valley of the Sun. Then the Phoenix audience will get this in an hour. So there'll be an hour delay. Like most weekends, there is not a lack of things to talk about. We do have a inflation week this week, so we're going to get CPI. We're going to get PPI as well, but Wednesday is when we are going to be getting the CPI stuff. We will get JOLTS. I thought we were going to get JOLTS last week. We get it this week. That'll be tomorrow. That'll be a point to look at. We'll also get small business optimism, mortgage applications. Hopefully, the rates did, I don't know if the mortgage rates came down. I know the 10-year note came down. But then, CPI and PPI, Wednesday, Thursday are going to be the bigger days for this week. But it's been tough. Wall Street's been pretty volatile lately, mostly to the downside. That pattern has so far continued this morning as well as, people are okay, what's going to happen here? How big of a recession should we worry about? The trade war, more trade war stuff. Now, China putting tariffs on agricultural products here. They're putting it on in Canada now, right? I mean, this thing's getting bigger by the day. And then the Trump administration continuing to say, hey, we're not worried about Wall Street. And, of course, the big thing this week, are they going to – doesn't look like – it looks like they've given up, and maybe that's the wrong word, but looks like they've given up on actually passing a budget, and they're hoping to get some form of a continuing resolution. Donald Trump was out I don't want to say pestering, but telling the Republicans to stay in line and let's get a resolution done, something that gives them time. So right now, Jason, it looks like the Trump administration is saying, hey, we're going to have maybe some rocky road here, but we feel good enough. We'll blame it on Biden. It was his fault. And hopefully it won't last very long, but he needs more time, and I think that's what he's hoping for in this continuing resolution, which is they did throw some stuff in there. They're going to spend more money on defense, some more money, I think, on the border, a couple of other, it's the government. They gotta throw some money out there, and then kick that can down the road. And hopefully, by the time before the end of the year, things are going to turn around. I think it looks like this is the plan coming out of the Trump administration.
And maybe a government shutdown, a debt ceiling, possibly.
That's still out there. It's going to be interesting if they will address that in the continuing resolution, or if that's a separate deal. Because I think they can still go, another month, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, something like that, with this emergency measure spending, so we don't know what the debt is. We do know this. I don't want to say we don't know. We know it's over $37 trillion now. But the question's going to be, how are we going to know that this week? Are they going to do something in the continuing resolution to just say, let the debt ceiling go as high as it's going to go during this, and we'll worry about it later? Or if that's going to be handled separately, we don't know that yet.
Yet to be determined. Later in March, right, is when they figure out how they're going to fund the government.
This week, yeah, the end of this week. They got the 14th is when. So they don't have a lot of time. And I think Saturday, Donald Trump was out there wanting the Republicans to vote on a 99-page spending bill to keep the government funded through September. So that would essentially say we operated fiscal year 2025 without a budget. Hey, we just did these resolutions, and again, March 14th is the deadline. $8 billion more for defense, $6 billion more for veterans' health care. Non-defense spending would drop by $13 billion. So they're adding $14 billion, taking away $13 billion in non-defense. They're trying to get a vote tomorrow. So we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason will be back after the break. 800-951-0592. Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason on this Monday. A quick look in at the markets here. It's a rough day. The Dow right now down 350 points. They're the best performer. That's the best news. The S&P's down 111. The NASDAQ down over 600 points. And again, I think a lot of this is going to be tariff driven. This has been a big point for the Trump administration as far as chips go, but a very powerful sell-off right now going on in the NASDAQ. Gold is just hanging out again. It's down, but right now gold's down $6, $29.05. Really hasn't moved a whole lot today. It's been very quiet. Same thing with silver, down just a little bit, down 25 cents, 32.25, as even more central bank buyers continue to emerge here, in addition to what the Chinese have been doing. But again, we keep talking about diversification here. Listen, this is going to come quickly. There's no real good way around it. I think Donald Trump, in this part, he has this part right. Hey, the tariffs, the reining in of spending, it's going to hurt, right? His hope is it'll only hurt for a little while, right? That's going to be the hard part, right? How long is it going to be? And truly, will it just be for a little bit? But I think the realities are we were running up against a debt market that was priced for perfection. And this isn't perfection, right? Hey, we're going to fire people, right? We're going to impose tariffs. We are going to make it hurt for a bunch of our companies, because you got to remember, a lot of the things being tariffed, let's not forget, are our companies, right? Because yes, they're building it overseas, right? We know this, and they're the ones that are going to be affected. So that's going to squeeze margins. At the same time, the consumer, man, the credit card debt just keeps going. So normally after Christmas, you get the credit card debt hangover. People start trying to pay their bills off. None of that happened. None of that happened. You look at today, the Dow or the NASDAQ being down 600 points. Those things are what is going to happen. And this is why we keep saying, get more diversified. If you got big IRAs, call us. Let's take part of it. Let's put it in a gold and silver IRA. Get you protected. We're going to get inflation again this week. Another example. Every month, they just tell you, this is how dumb you are to have money in your bank or under your mattress. This is how much we're going to devalue it. And think about how much purchasing power you've lost, right? I mean, why did gold go up $1,000 in a year? Because that's the amount of purchasing power they were taking away from you. It's not that gold went up. It's the value of your money. That's what's gone down. And that's what you got to look out for. And I think this is why Donald Trump is trying so hard, Jason, to keep the Republicans together and try to get to avoid a government shutdown and then try to buy some time, because I think this next 6 months it's going to get a little rough.
It's got to get everybody to agree to spend. That's what it's going to be, because inflating their way out is the option I think that Trump wants. You can cut the rates and start quantitative easing, or you can raise the rates and cut back. And quantitative tightening isn't working anymore. It's all, they're trying to walk that. The Fed's walking that balance beam, right? They don't want to fall to one side or the other. And I think if you're going to fall, I think what this administration is doing is let's spend our way out, and get those rates down, right, Joe? Create some job destruction so we can lower the rates and spend. I mean, that's basically where it is. That's just going to be huge for gold prices if they start spending and printing away, Joe.
Yeah, so this is kind of the, are we going to go into a recession? I'm going to tell you, I don't think that we can avoid it. Then the question becomes, how big is it? How long does it last? And I get where they want to go, right? They want to get to, hey, bring all these jobs back, right? And he's talking about, oh my gosh, we're going to collect so much money from tariffs. It sounds good, and we can't. Here's the thing: we can't. There's a cost to that, and the cost to that is higher prices, and especially if the tariff has to be. Even Trump said this weekend, hey, these tariffs could actually go higher. Why would he say they could go higher? What he's saying is, hey, I think 25% is a level where they'll decide it's better for us to build it in America. But in case it's not, right, I can always go higher, right? If I need to go to 35 or 40%, I can. But let's not kid ourselves. Building it here is extremely expensive. Labor, right? Our laws, right? There's a cost to all of that. The workforce, right now, the unemployment rate's 4.1. And yes, we saw a big jump in what they call underemployed people in this last jobs report. Right, where that's people, hey, I've got a job, but it's not enough. right? I need more hours. Either my hours got cut or, hey, I lost one of my jobs or whatever it may be. I'm not working enough. The question then is, if all of these jobs really came pouring back, and I don't know that they do, but let's just say they do, we probably don't have the bodies to do it, right? I mean, that's the problem, right? Which means what? The prices go even higher. This is a dangerous game that they're playing. And again, they got to play something. They know they've got to do something, Jason. It's not like he's sitting there going, well, gosh, I got a really good choice, and then I got another good choice. They're making choices that are like, man, I got 3 or 4 really crappy choices, and I hope I'm picking the least crappy one.
Well, I mean, if he does fire a tremendously large amount of government employees, I guess they could fill some of these jobs coming back, right? Maybe that's part of the government shrinkage he's trying to do. Maybe I'm going to fill a few holes that way, right? All the guys sit around doing nothing at the office over at whatever government A building, government B building, and so on, I guess, there's a little thought going into this. It's just, maybe too big of a problem to actually solve.
Right, but are we doing all of this for 50 or 100,000 jobs?
Of
right,
course not.
Right. Let's go crazy and say they get rid of 200,000. Are we doing all this for 200,000 jobs? I don't know. I just, it is something where. I think the book has yet to be written, and again, I think Wall Street is slowly coming to the realization, hey, wait a minute, this wasn't a bargaining chip. I think a lot of people were hoping that. I'm going to threaten Mexico and Canada and China, but I'm really not going to do it, right? Remember when Mexico and Canada, hey, we'll send some troops to the border and look at the border crossings are way down, that somehow would fix it. And then it was now it's fentanyl. That's good. No, I think they're starting to realize, oh, wait a minute. He's serious, which means the tariffs have to be serious. If the businesses think that Trump's going to take the tariffs away in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, Jason, they won't move any jobs, right? They won't move any jobs. So these things, I think that they're slowly coming to the realization that these things aren't going to go away. Is this the end of free trade? Remember, you go back to the 90s, NAFTA and GATT and all that stuff, and we didn't want those jobs, and of course now we can't even build ships here, and we can't. There's a big article out over the weekend about the metals that go into things like bullets and defense and bombs and stuff. These critical metal shortages. That are spiking up, essential for bullet cores, explosives, and shrapnel, weapons. Jason, over the weekend, these things just shot up, and they're saying now there's a severe global shortage across the supply chain. And, of course, remember, Germany blew up the bond market last week. Now the EU, they want to spend $800 billion on this stuff. And there's 3 main metals, and I'm not going to try to even pronounce them all for you. But China already hit us with trade restrictions on these metals. Just to look at rare earths, an F-35 bomber, do you know it's got 920 pounds of rare earth metals in it? Like a battleship, 5,200 pounds. A Virginia-class submarine, 9,200 pounds. And Jason, China's basically saying, okay, You guys want a war? Let's have a war. And all of a sudden, the pricing for all these rare earth metals has skyrocketed. And that's going to be another thing. We're going to have to find these places on our own. America's going to have to figure out another way to get them.
Greenland. Right.
Yeah.
They have a vote. Venezuela.
By the way, Greenland has a vote, I want to say tomorrow, whether or not they're going to vote for independence. I know that we would like for them to become a part of the United States. That's probably the least likely outcome. And then, of course, look at Syria. It turned into another big shocker, right? Shocker. What? No, we didn't see this one coming. The new government, let's just call it what it is. The ISIS government went after the old regime and ethnic cleansing and all that stuff. Apparently, they're all running to Russian bases trying to get asylum from the Russians. As I don't know, like 1,000 people were dead, and it was a pretty brutal situation. I don't know. And then, are we going to get peace in the middle or in Ukraine? Zelensky says he's going to go to Saudi Arabia on Monday, but then he's going to leave. He's not even going to stay for the negotiations. Yeah, I know. Yep. The Dow's down 400 points. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592. Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason on this Monday. And more talk about gold over the weekend that in the ETFs, that the big players in the ETF decided to take physical delivery. So if you're buying like the silver ETF or the gold ETF, it gives you exposure to gold. You really can't have it unless you own a lot of the ETF. And then apparently those guys can get it. And it appears that a bunch of them took delivery of the ETFs, which kind of caught the market off guard because it looked like, there's ETF selling. Remember last week we had a big down day in gold for ETF selling. Over the weekend, news broke. Nope, wasn't selling. It was them closing out their positions and actually taking delivery. I think some of that probably has to do with tariffs. I think some of that has to do with the fact that I think people are realizing this squeeze is real. The amount of available of above ground stock, whether it's silver or gold, Jason, has become very, very limited.
Supply and demand, so even if they're digging a bunch out, if everybody is buying it, I was watching some stuff about the central banks buying that they've been doing the last bunch of years. When you hold a tremendously large percentage of it as a whole, central banking system worldwide as a whole, whatever's going to happen with gold in the future could get really scary because they obviously control economically most of what goes on. So it doesn't matter what's being dug up. It's all being accumulated. Joe, we've talked about how many times that a lot of this is being, a lot of people are selling, people are having trouble paying bills, and a lot of the wholesalers that we deal with, and others across the country are selling it right to the smelter, being melted into 100-ounce gold bars, 1,000-ounce silver bars, deliverable bars, and someone's buying it all. I mean, how many tons has been bought by that one secret buyer is just physically just taking possession? I know that there's the conspiracy about, hey, they're refilling Fort Knox for the audit, right? And from what I can tell, it might be going to Fort Knox, but what it's doing there is to be questioned. Who owns what's sitting there is actually going to be the more important question. Why do I get the feeling that Trump and Elon Musk aren't going to really talk about who owns what's sitting there? It's going to be, well, look, the number of tons is here. everyone calm themselves, right? But if you actually think, well, wait a minute, there's so many thousand tons here, but J.P. Morgan Chase owns like a quarter of it, right? I don't think that's going to be announced, Joe. So we are looking at some big changes, well, and usually when big changes comes, that's when 9/11 or COVID or something blows through, right?
Yeah, and I'm going to say that he's been quiet about the Fort Knox thing since he said it. All of a sudden, it's been. Now, I'm not saying that they're not gonna. It's interesting. Because you'd think that'd be really easy to do. And again, there's people out there speculating that we were buying large quantities of gold because we didn't have it. I don't know. I don't pretend to know. But what we have seen has been, it's been unprecedented. And then, you got to remember, too, all these countries repatriating. And they've been doing this really for the last 10 years. And every year there seems to be another major announcement from another country saying, I'm taking my gold back. What was it? India did it last year. Germany did it over the course of several years, right? And then everybody in between talking about buying gold, repatriating gold. The latest survey from the World Gold Council, 81% of central banks plan to increase their gold holdings over the next 5 years. The number of central banks lowering their gold holdings for the next 5 years, 0. What did the other 19% say? We're just going to keep it the same, right? So, put the United States in there, right? England, France, Germany, right? They're probably we're just going to keep it the same. Well, everybody else, Jason, continues to add to their holdings.
Man, if Muammar Gaddafi could be alive to hear this. Wait, guys, wait. This is what I was doing. I don't think he was doing it the right way. I don't think he was not doing it the way that everybody else wants him to do it. So, but it's interesting, isn't it? All these countries that were doing this type of gold stuff that aren't here, and now everybody else is doing it. You got the BRICS, and you got what's going on with England, and it's interesting. But yeah, but I don't think it's the same thing as what Libya was doing.
Well, and I'm wondering if this 19%, whoever they are they being forced to buy back gold that they loaned out? That's the other question, right? That's the wild card in all of this. And that's the thing that we don't have clarity on, and I don't think they want to give us clarity. But look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's trying to stay above 80,000 right now. It's $80,067 as it continues to struggle ever since the announcement came down with the Trump administration as far as, hey, a Bitcoin reserve. It's just going to be the stuff that we've confiscated from other people, maybe not a whole lot of buying going on. And then, of course, Jason, that rumor still, it just doesn't go away. Is the United States going to revalue its gold? Some crypto guys were out saying that, hey, I guess we have a crypto czar now, by the way, in case you didn't know. And he was out talking, I want to say it was Friday, late on Friday, and saying that there had been no discussion about selling gold to buy Bitcoin whatsoever. The Treasury and the Commerce Departments will evaluate any future decisions regarding Bitcoin accumulation, but no official talks have been held yet. And like I said, that's just kind of an indication that, at least from the crypto guys, the idea of selling some gold to buy crypto, Jason, that doesn't appear to be on the table at all.
Well, I agree. I think crypto is going to have a future in gold, and I think it has something to do with replacing spot price in the future with stable coins. They're building it, Joe. It's being built right in front of us. And then revaluing gold, I don't think those $140,000 guys, I don't think they're going to be very happy because there's no way that's going to happen.
We'll be back. 800-951-0592. Today's special. We've got a couple of them for you today. A $5 Indian, which, as most of you know, for me anyway, I think it's the best coin the United States has ever minted. The $5 Indian. It is the male Indian with his headdress on. And then the tail side, it's got the eagle, sitting on its perch. It's just an incredible looking coin. Was the first time they ever engraved into the coin, so it's got grooves in it that you don't see. Remember, that was the whole, it's got the plague in it. The $5 Indian was the Indian least minted. They only minted $5 Indians for 10 years, from 08 to 16, and then only a couple of years after, I want to say 27 and 32, I think were the other 2 years, but that was it. Big sale today, $795, so $5 less than a $5 Liberty. And you guys know, right, the Indians carry those premiums. Why? Because they didn't mint them for nearly they didn't make as many of them, didn't mint them very long. And then on top of that, we still got some rolls of silver halves. I think today will be it for the silver halves at $255. And again, if you buy 25 rolls, we'll take them down to $250 at 800-951-0592. The losses picking up right now. The Dow now down 485 points. The S&P's down 120. The NASDAQ still down that 600 points. And Jason, a lot of that having to do with tariffs, a lot of that having to do with the chip industry in general, margins, and a lot of other factors. But again, a lot of things priced to perfection, and perfection is something that I think everyone's kind of realizing, okay, there's going to be a price to this. There's a reason why Donald Trump is saying, hey, we're not focused on Wall Street. Because right now, I think we're in this situation where there's a reason they don't want to focus on Wall Street, and it's pretty simple because it's probably going to be a rough ride for a while, and then we're going to have to see what the rebound's going to be.
Let's see what happens, Joe. I don't know the markets. It seems to me that I see a situation where the markets just go shooting upwards, and why do I get the feeling it has a lot to do with that budget? How much money are they going to spend? The markets get really happy when everyone gets paid, right? So maybe it's rocky until whatever date, let's say it's April, say they have a government shutdown, whatever, for a week or whatever, or the spending situation is rocky. But why do we get with inflation, Joe, the markets can go up not because the markets are valued higher. They could go up just because of inflation and spending. So there will be a crash. The markets will reprice to what these companies are really worth, at least in some level, but we just don't know when. The timing and what's going to actually happen is still in doubt. This is why I think leaders of countries all over the world are acting like they don't know I think they don't know what's going on, right? Let's face it. They're put there not to know what's going on. They're put there to follow orders. And I don't think the orders are coming down the line quite as regular as they have been. I think this is why Trump's got the whole world captivated right now, because it seems like he's the one that that is making the decisions now, and so everyone's waiting for him to do whatever the next step is.
Well, Canada's got a new prime minister. I don't know if you knew.
Oh yeah,
Mark Carney. Guess what? Shocker here. He's a central banker. Yeah. Wow. Big shock.
Yeah.
Says that Canada will keep in place retaliatory tariffs against the United States as long as Donald Trump persists with this trade war. And I like I said, I'm telling you, no, we either need to send the message, listen, these tariffs are never coming off, or these jobs don't come back, right? That's the kind of the problem. If he only puts them on for a few months, no one's going to answer the bell. But this was something he won very easily. It was a huge blowout. He was a former governor of the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England. He'll be sworn in as prime minister within a matter of days. He got 86% of the vote. And I know this, Jason, his public comments, him and Donald Trump don't see eye to eye. So this is not a move to somebody more pro-Trump. Carney is very much a banker at heart, and is also very much playing the, Canada, we'll fall on our sword if we have to flag. So I don't expect the trade war to get any better with this guy.
Well, but, I guess if he falls into line with where the new regime in America wants, then I guess all will be happy, right? Maybe we'll have our 51st state.
Right? Who knows? Maybe.
He's going to be the governor. Hey. He's not the president. He's not the prime minister. He's now going to be the governor of Canada. It's coming. Governor.
How many new states are we going to be? Yes, that is the question. Patriot Radio News Hour. I know, wow. Where did the time go? Final segment coming up. 800-951-0592. Final segment on this Monday. $5 Indians. $35 a coin off today. $7.95 for the $5 Indian. It's quarter-ounce gold piece, cheaper than a $5 Liberty. And then the final day on the silver half-dollar rolls, $2.55 a roll. By 25 rolls or more, $2.50 at 800-951-0592. More talk. Is Donald Trump trying to cause a recession? Here's the thinking on this. Get a continuing resolution to take us to September. Right? The new fiscal year starts in October. So 2026 for the federal government starts in October. And they're saying that the reason why they continue to want more DOGE cuts, more government cuts, cut spending, whether it's grift, fraud, it doesn't matter. You will eventually get a recession guaranteed. That's all Congress is waiting for. Then they can use the emergency, right, the recession, to vote through a far greater spending package. So, Jason, this is kind of the new line that some people are taking is this is part of the plan. Let's hit it hard early. Let's go up. We're in a recession. And then force them to spend even bigger. And that could be, you know what, honestly, if you want to grow out of it, not a bad card to play. Hey, I did the popular thing. I cut a bunch of government waste. But now we're in a recession. And now we've got to really spend big and go with some blowout stuff because it'll be an emergency.
It's always an emergency, isn't it?
Well, think about it. Could be a lot of giveaways.
Oh, yes.
A lot of giveaways to get businesses to bring the jobs back.
Yep.
Right? Hey, Ford, GM, whoever it may be. Hey, we'll pay you billions of dollars to build stuff here.
Yep.
I could definitely. I'm not saying that's the plan, but it's not the craziest thing I've heard. Matter of fact, that actually there's some sense to that plan anyway.
Anytime that it's okay to, when you're watching the TV, anytime it's okay to break the rules, I agree with you. It's okay to break the rules as long as it's an emergency. We obey the rules. We make the rules. But as soon as there's an emergency, well, we can break the rules because it's an emergency. So I think that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
It makes a lot of sense.
We wanted to rein the spending, but then we had this emergency.
That's exactly.
I'll say this. This is probably the best explanation I've seen so far. Remember, this started like a week ago. People have started talking about, hey, are they deliberately trying to cause a recession? And that has been of popular opinion in some smaller circles. But this weekend and really early this morning, this article breaks saying, hey, this is why they want the CR. And then go big on the 2026 budget. 800-951-0592. I know this. That'll be good for gold and silver, that's for sure.